Howdy folks, I hope you're well. So, a important and quick update on things. About just under 2 weeks ago, during the review I did of Zandies' first year of racing, I mentioned that we'd got some health problems. And I said that we'd got various opinions of what it could be. And some of those opinions were that it could be PMV, some people thought it could be herpes, but I never actually stated that it was anything. It was merely people think it could be this or it could be that. Now, I'm doing this to share it with you so you know, one, for people that care and are interested, what's been going on, and for the other group of people, just to shut people up and let them know the facts. So shortly after I did my update video about Zandy and mentioned that we'd got some health issues, Mr. Gary Tomlinson took it upon himself to do a Facebook Live video advising or warning people in the Derbyshire area that we had got PMV. I've never seen the video, but I've heard that that's what was said. I haven't seen the video because within about an hour of him shooting the video, he took the video down. But it was long enough for people to contact me, and probably quite a few people watched the video. I know for a fact as well, this man has been trying to contact my club secretary. And like I said, I never said we'd got PMV. I said some people, the many people that have been trying to help me out with this, said it could be. But they also said it could be herpes and who else knows what. So after his advisory video to everybody in the Derbyshire area, which was subsequently took down, I got a lot of interest and a lot of people messaging. And then, lo and behold, today, about midday, I got a call from Defra. And an hour later, I had Defra at my door. And I categorically know Gary Tomlinson was the one that reported me to Defra. Some would say it's harassment. Some would say it's pathetic. I'd probably say it's pathetic. And this video is not about my feelings towards him and everything he continues to do. This is a fact-based video telling you about what has been happening. So I had Defra come to see us today because they had been advised about a suspected case of PMV. Fortunately, I was well prepared because I have been taking steps. Now, I'm a responsible person, and it would be ridiculous for anybody with half a brain cell to think that with my son being distraught after finishing his first year of racing and managing to get about 23 pigeons remaining from his young bird team going into next year, surviving young bird racing and being still, albeit after all of this hassle and all of the problems and anxiety that he's had as a result of said person and his actions, it would be absolutely ludicrous to think that after everything Zandies been through, I wouldn't be taking any action. It's not just Zandy, it's me. It's been a horrible few weeks, absolutely horrible. Me waking up, getting my first cup of tea and going, opening the lofts, used to be a joy. I used to say hello to the pigeons. I got my few favourites, and I used to love opening up in the morning, especially when it was sun shining. For the last few weeks, I have hated going and opening up in the morning. So it would be pathetic to think that I wouldn't be taking all of the action that I possibly can while this has been happening. And as I said to Defra today, the first couple died. You think, that's not good, but these things happen. After half a dozen have died, you start thinking, right, we've got a problem. And then you start taking action. So, I initially sent off droppings tests to Tolleson. I wasn't aware that PMV and herpes couldn't be tested from droppings. When they received the droppings, I was told that they needed throat swabs. But that was going to take too long. And all along this time, I've been getting help from as many great people, which I'll mention later. And the droppings test came back for, there was 3 separate samples sent out of 3 different lofts, and 2 of the 3 lofts came back with coccidiosis, which is obviously easy treatable, but would explain why some pigeons have lost weight. So I was kind of relieved to hear that the ones that have lost weight but displaying no other symptoms are probably for that. But then after knowing that the swab tests were going to take too long, and again, every day that goes by, it's horrendous. It's been horrible for me and mainly for Zandy. So, Greg, I tried the Pigeon Testing Centre, but they can't test for PMV and herpes, I've been told. I called them last week. So anyway, I was recommended by a friend of mine locally and also some pigeon men in a group that I met to go to a place in Southall. So on Friday, I took 4 of the worst affected pigeons from 4 different locations and took them all for blood tests. And I knew the blood tests were going to be back today. Then I get my call from Defra, and fortunately the blood tests came back in between knowing Defra were coming and Defra arriving. So I'm pleased to say, as the vet on Friday thought, that's displaying no visible signs of PMV at all, the pigeons are clear of PMV in every loft we've got. All 4 pigeons that we tested from the 4 worst ones were tested, blood tests, 4 different tests on 4 different pigeons, 16 tests in total. I'm pleased to say, because the vet said on Friday when they saw them, these pigeons don't look like they've got PMV, and they've seen thousands of pigeons. I'm pleased to say, as this document shows, that the pigeons are clear for PMV. They're clear for Newcastle disease. They're clear for rotavirus. They do show signs of having antibodies for PMV, because every single pigeon that we have here was re-injected for PMV, because like I said on the previous video, the only pigeons that we actually injected ourselves were Zandies race team before we started training. So they're clear of PMV. Now, I would hope that, as being a keen lover of facts and information, that Gary Tomlinson will distribute those facts that it wasn't PMV at all. I'm sure he'll broadcast that on next week's show. They say that imitation is the best form of flattery. So I'm sure on his show he will be only too pleased to share the good news that we don't have PMV. But what is interesting, and that's one word for it, is that the pigeons have shown positive for coronavirus. Now, before everybody gets all weirded out by it, COVID-19 is just one strain, new strain of coronavirus. Coronavirus is actually bronchitis type things, and there's many different strains of coronavirus that nothing like the world epidemic that we've got at the moment. And if you Google it, coronavirus is actually quite common within birds and animals, and it's essentially a bronchitis type virus. So again, before anybody gets weirded out with the current situation, we're not talking about them having anything like what the epidemic is in COVID-19. Coronavirus is there's tens and tens of different types of it in simplistic terms. But that's what they came back for. And they showed a relatively medium level of that. And it's a virus. And from speaking to the vet, it fits the signs of what these pigeons have been demonstrating. The horrible part of it is because it is a virus, there isn't a lot you can actually do for them. All we can do is find the best solutions to care for the pigeons we've got and get them, any ones that are ill. Fortunately, we don't have that many that are looking ill now, and make sure that they're cared for the best they can. We're still waiting. One of the tests hasn't come back yet. The test for herpes is going to be another 2 to 3 days. So I'm not doing anything. I'm not treating. I'm not doing anything for any of them until the herpes tests come back. Hopefully that'll come back clear, and then we know what we're dealing with. So that is what we've got at the moment, pending the herpes test in 2 to 3 days. So like I said, I sent droppings tests over to Tolleson. They showed two of the 3 samples showed some coccidiosis in there. I can never pronounce it right, but you know what I mean. And, you know, in real terms, Zandies been distraught and heavily affected by this. It's been horrible for both of us, but him being 16 years old in his first season, losing pigeons that he's cared and loved and looked after for the whole summer, it's been horrendous. The interesting thing is that actually none of his remaining race team have been affected at all, which is good. His 22 remaining team going into Old Bears next year haven't been affected, which is, touch wood, that's a great thing. So yeah, there's the update. Clear for PMV, which obviously I'm very pleased about, but I never said we had it in the first place. It's just, again, you get a lot of opinions from people, and it could be this, and the signs of that, and it could be herpes, and what have you. And I had a vet saying it could be PMV. One of the vets said it could be non-UK vet. Again, but was only based on symptoms, not testing, you know. Now we've actually got blood tests. We know what we're dealing with. And it's here in black and white. as nice paper facts show. And yeah, so moving forward, it's been a real kick, to be honest. It's been a real kick. But moving forward, it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, you know, I didn't know up until Friday that the rotavirus is what people commonly call young bird sickness. I didn't realize rotavirus was that. I didn't realize it was an actual virus. I've learned a hell of a lot in the last 2 weeks. But it does make you wonder why seemingly good pigeons, completely well pigeons, then have just turned very quickly to be very unwell pigeons. It makes you wonder about why there's been so many losses. I'm not saying it is this, but I'm saying, you know, we have lost a lot of good pigeons in the last 2 weeks. Pigeons that 2 weeks prior, a week prior, were looking very healthy, flying well, and looking really good. And suddenly, that wasn't the case. I hasten to add, Defra confirmed that based on everything I gave, copies of the results showed them the vials that we'd used to inject all the pigeons for PMV. They looked around the loft, they looked at the pigeons. I hasten to add that there would be no further action. But it does make you wonder, and maybe it's the cause of a lot of the problems. I'm sharing this so people are aware that it's there, and I'm sharing all of the information that I get as I get it with the RPRA, because obviously they're interested in this and what's going on. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody that supported Zandy and I in the last few weeks. I'm not going to mention everybody, but we have had some great support from people in advice. I've had a very well-known person in the pigeon sport bend over backwards to help me and get me in touch with vets, and been sending me stuff to try and get the pigeons feeling better as we've been waiting to find out what's going on. And a thank you to everybody that supported me. It really does mean a lot. I'm just going to read some comments. Stephen O'Brien shared it. Some would say a soap opera, Greg. Others would say quite embarrassing and pathetic, really. Gary Hunter shared it with everybody. He said, Joshua says, Adam Archer did a YouTube video about coronavirus and pigeons. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have a watch that. Adam Archer, thank you for that, Joshua. Stephen, do you have to self-isolate from being in contact with your birds having signs of... No. Stephen, it's not COVID. All right, so let's get this straight. It's not COVID-19. Coronavirus takes many different forms. There's in simple terms, there's many different strains of coronavirus. And coronavirus has been present for years and years in the world. It's just that COVID-19 is the new one that has affected horribly so many people. But coronavirus as a virus takes on many different forms. And coronavirus in birds and in pigeons is known. Doesn't affect humans, is known. Sean Stockley, Defra must be on drugs to mention that, and not a great thing to advertise. The second you mentioned well, I disagree, Sean, with what you said, because it's in bird populations. It's been an issue in bird populations. Unfortunately, you mentioned coronavirus, and it's been it's been in birds and in games especially for years, way before this. So it's not the same thing at all. Wayne Lucas, why do you broadcast until you actually have the results? Not great for the sport and not conclusive. Wayne, this is the trouble when you come in halfway to what I'm talking about. I have the results. I don't have PMV. The birds don't have PMV, but they do have this coronavirus. I said, you may have missed me saying I'm waiting to hear on the tests if they have herpes, which I suspect based on these results they won't have. So I'm doing the video to tell you what I've got and found out today. I hope that makes sense. Lee Osborne lost. Why do a video full stop? Just get on with it. You're missing the point, Lee. The point is, I mentioned we'd had health problems. I think, with all due respect, that that opinion is something that the pigeon sport has got wrong. I want to share what's going on because hopefully it will help other people. The fact that Tomlinson chose to share that I'd actually got something I hadn't, in addition to all the other crap that he said about me over the last months, makes me want to put the picture right and the story right and the facts right as shown here. So that's why I've done a video, and I'm not just getting on with it, because like I said earlier, it may be the reason, this may be the reason that other people are suffering as we have been. The difference is we have said about it publicly like I did. So, Mark, are Defra aware of the coronavirus with your lofts? Will they notify the authorities? Will they have isolate from club away? No, Stephen. This is how unimportant this result is. Let's get this straight. This is how, I know when you say coronavirus, people start panicking. And this was one of my worries about doing this video. And this is why some people said don't even mention it. But I deal in facts. How unimportant the fact that these pigeons have got a form of coronavirus is, that Defra are taking no action, have not tested any pigeons, have not took any samples, not took anything away, and they've seen these test results. They have a copy of these test results. Defra from Leicester have this copy of these test results and have been in touch with the vet. So there's no isolation needed, there's no of that. It is a strain of virus, like I said earlier, is a type of bronchitis within pigeons. So there's no need for isolation, there's no need to isolate the pigeons from the club, not that we're racing anymore or any of that. So I hope that makes sense. We're not talking about I've got to isolate and my family have and the dogs have or any of that. It is a strain that is quite common in birds. And like I said, the fact that Defra publicly on record are taking no action against anything to do with our pigeons shows you how unimportant, obviously it's very important to us to get this sorted out, but to them it's not a concern. That's how, I've never heard of coronavirus in birds in my life. I've heard of bird flu. Would be interested to hear more. Go and Google it, mate. It'll tell you. Chris Williams said it's good that you share. I think it's very important to share. James, don't feel for your son to put up with it. There's lessons to be learned. I think introducing pigeons from multiple losses is a big problem. Yeah, maybe you're right, but again, it's that novice starter issue, isn't it? You know, different pigeons from different places, different ages, and that. But it's interesting, like I said earlier, and again, I'll tell you the fact that actually not a single bird from his race team has been affected by this. Rick says, always great to share. Great if you found out what's wrong with the birds. Lots of lofts had young bird sickness this year. Absolutely, Lorraine. Remember, always keep new birds away from birds. Yeah, absolutely. So what's wrong with them to cause this? Well, Stephen, the coronavirus attacks the lungs, and it's a bronchitis type thing. And remember that 90% of the birds that we've lost here have all been young birds. All right, 90% have all been young birds. So it can cause death in pigeons. It's as simple as that. Alan Busty says, you're correct, Mark. There are different strains of coronavirus that are around in nature around all the time. And the videos online, YouTube, etc., refer to the direction of it in birds and animals for many years. Yeah, that's right. So again, nobody watched this thinking, oh, Lyford's got coronavirus, he's got to isolate, his birds are the devil. And look, like I said, Defra left here at 2 o'clock this afternoon after seeing this and all the other reports I'd got from Tolleson and everything. They'd seen this and they're taking no further action. That tells you everything you need to know about this. Obviously, for us, we want to get it sorted. We want to make sure we don't have anything like this again, and we want to make sure the birds are healthy and we don't lose any more. But from a Defra point of view, that's how unimportant it is to them. All they were concerned about was PMV. James, don't feel for your son. He doesn't. Hope he doesn't lose interest. I think your problem is introducing new pigeons from multiple loss. Recipe disaster. What medication are they on at the moment? They're on Coxy treatment at the moment. And that's it for now until we get the final test for herpes back, James. And then, depending on what that is, I suspect that'll be clear as well. Then it's just a case of putting them on electrolytes and vitamins, and we're going to clear the coccidosis up that 2 of the 3 samples had. But the harsh reality is not a lot you can actually do. There's not, it's a virus. There's not an antibiotic you can give them. There's not anything you can actually do for them other than just try and get them through it and over it. That's the harsh reality. And James, my son won't give up because he's got the resilience and the grit and determination of his dad, fortunately. And he's already planning next year. So he won't give up. Like I said in the video 2 weeks ago nearly, he's wanted to give up twice. But it's, in the heat of the moment with everything he's wanted to, it's been horrible for him losing birds that he's reared and looked after and what have you. But he won't give up. He'll be here. Jack Berry, make sure them birds adhere to some social distancing measures, Mark. Also take the drinkers out at 10 p.m. Oh, Jack, my antidote to quite a crappy day, mate. It's been horrible, Jack. It's been proper horrible. Really horrible. But I'll tell Zandy what you said. Social distancing for all pigeons and all drink taken away at 10 p.m. That's funny. Faye Hannah says, I know it's been, glad you had the results, but it's been very stressful all the time. You and Gabby and things get better from here. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll keep going. I tell you what the worst worry I've got at the moment. I've got a 6-year-old stockcock. He's my favourite pigeon I've got. I've got 2 favourite pigeons, personally. I got a dark checker whitefly cock, 6-year-old. He's my favourite bird, joint with another one. And he's not looking well. He's lost weight. He's not looking well. And it's only started, it started 2 days ago. He's not showing any of the signs. He's not drinking particularly much, but he's lost appetite. But that's where it's at. And my other favourite bird is a pure white pigeon called Jack, but that's another story altogether. But yeah, my favourite boy in the stock loft is not, he's the only one now visibly showing signs of not being very happy. And it's really stressing me out because I just don't need any more pigeons lost. It's horrible. It really is. Ray McLennan says, here you go. This Ray hits the nail on the head, folks, for anybody that needs to get this and puts it in simple terms. The common cold is a coronavirus. The common cold is a coronavirus. Chris Williams, it's been a really bad year, what I've read with young birds. My own young birds were really ill. That's sorry to hear that, Chris. It's horrible. It really is. what's our next steps? Our next steps is wait for the herpes test to come back, which should be hopefully be here Thursday. And then I'm going to speak to the vets, and I'm just going to put them on whatever I can. Every single pigeon will be put on whatever they can to try and get them through it. As I said, you can't treat this thing. It's not something you can give them a magic pill for or an injection for. You can't treat it. So all I can do is just give them everything we can to build their immunity up and get them through this. And my black checker cock that I told you about, I'm going to give whatever I can. I do not desperately. We've lost some really good pigeons over the last 2 weeks. Heartbreaking. We've lost some stock birds as well. That's the other thing. As I said, 90% of the pigeons we've lost are young birds, but we've lost stock birds. You know, 2, 3, 4-year-old stock birds we've lost as well. And this 6-year-old black white flight cock of mine I've got, and he is my pigeon. He's one of the few pigeons in a stock loft that are actually mine. The rest are Zandies. I really want to see him get better. So I'm waiting on the final result to come back, and then we will, by then the Coxie treatment will be finished, and then we'll give them whatever we've got to give them to get them. As I said, if you go in there now and you see Zandy's race team, they're all spot on, bob on. It's horrible. David J. Wilmore, good mark for you to share to the fanciers again. Stephen O'Brien again. David, you know, I think it's important to. It was important, if I'm honest, it was important for me to share it so people know about this, but it's also important to set the record straight from the more BS that's been talked by him who I don't like to talk about publicly. A good insight sickness, as people know, have been wiped out with young bird and stock birds, and often and others too. And you know, one who knows what it may be new from a disease worth investigating. Yeah, absolutely. This is Mick Hibbert says it's not complicated. You cannot treat a virus. You can treat to suppress the symptoms. In most cases, death will be caused by secondary infections that are allowed to surface due to the immune system being compounded by the virus. Death is caused by more than one simple factor. This is the nature at work. What title is given to a virus is unimportant. Many secondary infections are treatable. Absolutely, Mick. Yeah, so I completely agree, Mick. Sharon Martin Cocker, hey Mark, I've only just come on. What's happened to your birds? Watch the replay. I'm finishing this soon. I'm not going to go through it all again, but watch the replay. It's been a horrible few weeks, Cheyenne. Been horrible. Good news, Mark. James Sutton, get on with them. And your son's nice to see young lads in the sport. He only needs help next year. Young birds, let me know. Thank you, James. Much appreciated. This is what I've done in the and let it ride out. Well, there's not much more we can do. Breeding off stock birds which were previously sick will be on a slippery slope for future, Mark. Just a bit of advice. The harsh reality, Stephen, to be honest with you, is that out of all the birds that have shown any symptoms, we've only got 2 that have survived. That's how bad it's been. 3/4 of the birds have died themselves, and the other I've called myself because I'm not someone that likes to call pigeons at all. But anything that I thought was in pain or suffering itself, then they've been called. So yeah, there's not that many survivors of this. Like I said, this black white fight cock I've got, he's not showing all the symptoms everybody has. He's just lost weight, and he's just not looking very happy and healthy for himself at all. Alan Busted, fair play to you, Mark, for your honesty and openness to discuss it. Best of luck. I'll get back on the saddle and drive on. Yeah, Shane Langton, wish you and Zandy the best. Thank you. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'll clear it up. I look forward to the facts that I haven't got PMV virus, nor not that I ever said I had, as it could be. I look forward to them facts being broadcast on the show on a Monday night. Like I said earlier, imitation. It's the best form of flattery. I look forward to that, but I'm very pleased that we haven't got PMV. I'm not pleased that, well, I am pleased that it's shown we've got something, because one of my worst fears was these tests come back showing negative for everything, because then you're even at more of a loss. So I am pleased that it's shown this. I'm not pleased that there's no quick fix cure for this. And I'm not pleased at the amount of pigeons that Zandy and I lost. To be fair, you know, 3/4 of the pigeons that have been lost are Zandies, and I'm not happy for him. And as I said, it's been a hell of a first year for him. But the reality is, we know what we're dealing with now. Assuming the herpes tests come back clear, which I suspect they will, which I will let people know. We know what we're dealing with, which is the most important thing. So, thank you for watching, folks. It's nice to be back live for a bit. I promise you my next live will all be happy, positive, and about good things. We'll figure it out. Thanks for watching, folks. Catch you soon.